Back now to our top story. In the second attack on Australian troops by a rogue Afghan soldier in 10 days, 3 Australian soldiers have been wounded. So what's the Afghan view of these attacks? And with 8,000 new recruits being pulled into the military every month, are inadequate vetting procedures opening the floodgates to Taliban infiltrators? Well, a short time ago we were joined by Afghanistan's Ambassador to Australia, Nasir Andisha. He was in our Canberra studio. Ambassador Andisha, thanks for being there.
Thank you very much.
Now, these treacherous attacks on Australian soldiers are eroding trust, and they're fast eroding the case for keeping our troops in Afghanistan. Is there anything at all that you can say to reassure people in Australia that this will stop happening?
You know, this is also yet another unfortunate incident which happened there, but it tells us two things. So number one is that how difficult this mission is, and the more difficult it gets, the more closer it gets to the transition dates. That's one. And the number two is it shows that, you know, the enemies, the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, they will do whatever possible to have this sort of kind of spectacular attacks, and to find out that, you know, the closer we get to the transition dates, they shake the resolve of our partners. So, you know, if we do what the Al-Qaeda and Taliban wants, what is that you know, we should think twice about our mission. I think that will not be probably a good strategy when we are nearing to the drawdown dates of the international security forces.
So can I just interrupt there to come back to my question? Is there anything you can say to reassure the Australian people that this will stop, or do you in fact think it will get worse?
You know, these are some of the incidents that you can't say that will it get worse, or will there's anything that we can do to stop it. Of course, we have taken measures, serious measures on part of the Afghan government as well as on the part of the international security forces, you know, to embed intelligence officers into the Afghan national security forces, and to train them to not to let this kind of incident happen, and people or the sleeping cells, if I may. I'm not talking particularly about these cases, but some other cases that we had around, because this case was something that maybe we'll talk about later on, to find out and to make, you know, this vetting process, or the recruiting process, a little bit more tougher, so not to let this kind of people get in and to harm. Because as you know, that there are 3,500 ANSF forces that the Australians are training, and cases like this are isolated. I know you may say that, okay, there was something happened some time back, you know, in Kandahar, and now it's happening in Oruzgan, but they are two separate cases. And in this case, this gentleman, you know, or I call it gentleman, this soldier who just left with the vehicle and then later on burned the vehicle and escaped somewhere. So our forces and your forces are after him, and because he had some people connected to, so I'm sure you will soon we will get him.
Yes, are you suggesting that he is not a Taliban infiltrator but had some other motive?
You know, the recent information I got, I just called Governor Shirzad some time back. The recent information that we got was that they don't have any reason to believe that he was linked to the Taliban, and I haven't heard anything that the Taliban are claiming this. But we have to find out the motives, because anything can happen in these kind of, you know, military bases that they have. But I cannot confirm, and I cannot neither deny that he was.
Do we have any idea at all, speaking to the governor, what possible motive he might have?
You know, even they are not sure, because according to them, he was not from Oruzgan province. He was coming from some other provinces. And normally those people that they don't have a base down there or the neighborhood, they do not resort to such kind of activities unless, you know, something happened. But I don't want to speculate on this. We will let it for our security forces, for your security forces down in Oruzgan to find out, and think the more information will come.
Okay, 60 ISAF troops have been killed by rogue Afghan soldiers or police in the past 6 years. 26 of these killings have happened in the past 12 months. Why is it getting worse?
Again, you know, the same reason that I mentioned before is that we are nearing the transition date. We are nearing, a date that the Afghan security forces, Afghan government will be in charge of security responsibilities of the country, and we are nearing a phase of, if I may call it this peace and reconciliation will go further. So this is the time that they will make a point that the Taliban and their Al-Qaeda allies will do everything possible to show that they are in control. They are there because they lost many grounds in the south. They lost grounds around Lashkargah and Kandahar as a result of the surge, and they do not have proper districts that they control like they had before. So
okay,
they will resort
but
in this kind of.
I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but you seem to be saying, although in the case that we're just talking about, where the Australian soldiers were shot, you don't necessarily believe it's a Taliban infiltration, but you seem to be saying that most of the incidents are due to the Taliban. Is that correct? Yes, the information that we got recently that they claimed, actually, the Taliban at least claimed their spokesperson claimed that these were, their friends, the people that they have been into this, and some cases that our NDS got recently in Kabul show some link between these rogue elements and the networks of Taliban and Haqqani network. Yes, because the US Army, investigating some of these cases, have discovered that Taliban actually are cold calling the mobile phones of recruits, that behind the scenes they're going to their relatives and asking them for their help to recruit them to turn their guns on foreign troops. Now, do you believe that is the fundamental thing that's going on then?
I haven't heard of this, but I know that they are approaching the family members, sometimes intimidating the family members in few cases around Ghazni province. That the parents, some other family members, sometimes they're taking them hostages to make these people do something like this. So they will probably have no choice doing that. So yeah, there are cases like that, but I don't know how far is that.
Let's go back to the question of the vetting recruits. How can there possibly be a proper vetting process in a country with virtually no computer database when you're putting 8,000 new recruits per month into the military?
Again, you see there's another challenge, there's another contradictions of what we do. On the one hand, we are pushing for the transition, we are pushing for increasing the number of Afghan security forces because we need, when we believe that the security of Afghanistan should be taken care by the Afghans themselves, after 10 years. This is something that we agreed, the International Security Force agreed in Lisbon, and we are committed to do this. And on the other hand, these challenges like this, that of course, you have the tendency, you have a deadline to have this number of soldiers, and on the other hand, you have a problem like this. So what we do on the ground is that, of course, the biometric, the computer system, the way that it's there in this country or some other developed countries, we don't have it. But we do our most not to have cases like this. For example, we try to get some of the elders from the villages, or people that they are known, the mullahs, the khans, the head of the shuras, the councils, to come forward and to guarantee these people when they are entering the security forces, and that is at the least that we can do.
But that is precisely the problem, isn't it? I mean, as I understand the vetting procedure, it only requires one, possibly two elders within a community to sign a note saying, I know this person. And in many cases, as we've learnt, they don't actually know them at all, and yet they sign it under pressure for one reason or another. So it's not exactly a vetting procedure, is it?
I think that there are improvements. There are improvements on this cases. So we try to find out that if that person who is coming forward to certify, if I may, this person should be a known person, should have proper address, should be available when we contact him. When it's needed. And on the other hand, the biometric system, there is a intensive work going on the biometric system. Most of the soldiers, both in the army and in the police, where they are entering into the both forces, the biometrics are taking. So that is a process which is going on, and hopefully we will be able by the end of this 2012 to have a full biometric system, at least for our security forces.
After a series of these kind of rogue attacks on US troops, the US Army sent 80 counterintelligence officers in to do a new round of vetting on the soldiers they were working with. Should the Australians consider doing the same thing?
You know, this is something that I will probably leave it to the Australian commanders back in Uruzgan and Kabul to decide to see if that's an appropriate procedure for them to take. But one thing I understand is that the Australian government, there is a consistency in their policies. And that shows, you know, a good grasp of the national security interests of Australia when it comes to mission in Afghanistan. And the recent visit of Prime Minister Julia Gillard, recent successful and timely visit, is, I think, is one of the evidence of this consistency in the policy. So these kind of attacks will happen. It depends on how we look at it, and it depends like what measures we will take to really, you know, on one hand, reduce the damage that might cause to the mission, and on the other hand, really protect our soldiers on the ground.
Would the Afghan government be prepared to assist the Australian military if a new round of vetting was required on the troops that are working with the Australians?
You know, in principle, why not? This is something, again, you know, our Ministry of Defense and then our friends, our Australian friends and also American friends in Kabul might be already in discussion with our national security leadership. And I'm sure if they find out that, yes, there is a need for something to happen, certainly, you know, we don't want this kind of incident to happen. Neither you want it, incident like this to happen, to put political pressure on your people and on your government in here.
Okay, final question then. Would you acknowledge that the vetting procedure is clearly not working appropriately at the moment when we've had these 3 attacks in a short space of time on Australian soldiers?
I might not do that, because, you know, statistically, if you take 2 incidents out of 3,500, I don't know, that will come to 0.000 something percentages. But it will not tell us that, no, we should not go to reinforce our vetting system. We should not go out and to find out to avoid cases like this in future. But I might not tell that, you know, there is, you know, a huge mistake in the vetting process. We do our best. You officers and soldiers are doing their best, but I think that's not enough. Maybe we will do more than this, and we are learning, and that's of course a painful learning.
Ambassador Andisha, we thank you very much for taking the time to come and talk to us on Late Line tonight.
You're welcome.